Our group, the Dream Team, had the opportunity to visit the city of Valencia. Valencia, Spain's third largest city, thrives by its culture, history, local cuisine, and residents. In 1957, Valencia suffered from a flood by the city's main river, the Turia. Thankfully, Valencia transformed its former river into a 7-kilometer long park that leads straight to the spectacular city. Valencia is known for its local festivities, Las Fallas, and Virgen de los Desamparados, and the architecture of the City of Arts and Sciences. Mass tourism is one of the main issues of sustainable tourism in Spain, but not on Valencia. Tourism in Valencia has grown in the last 5 years, which could cause the carrying capacity to reach its limit. Although this problem is likely to happen, according to Eric Nolte, the Dutch consul of Valencia, they have the growth of visiting tourists under control. There is still room for growth in tourism in Valencia. Thus, we can safely say that Valencia has no problem with the carrying capacity. However, the growth of tourism does have a negative influence on the locals due to the large number of tourists visiting Valencia. This causes the residents to be slightly irritated by the noise, pollution, and overcrowdedness. According to Eric Nolte from the Dutch Council of Valencia, Valencia is a sustainable tourism destination where preserving the local culture and environment is important. You can easily explore the city on foot or by bike. The many cycle lanes throughout the city and the many streets in the center that have traffic restrictions encourages more people to leave their car behind. They are currently working on making the city center free of cars. Furthermore, there are plenty of green areas where you can enjoy the beauty and tranquility of nature. At markets such as the Central Market and Huerta, fresh produce can be bought to help the local suppliers. All the money that is received by tourism is invested in the local community and environment.
Es decir, la gente viene a los sitios para hacer fotos y luego decir, ah, mira, he estado aquí, pero en realidad no es así. No están recibiendo de los lugares. Esta es mi opinión.
Mass tourism in general has a huge impact on the environment and the residents. We were curious about the different perspectives of the locals and tourists on this issue. That is why we interviewed a couple of locals and tourists to better understand their thoughts and feelings regarding the growth of tourism in Valencia. Having interviewed a British and a Dutch couple, we noticed that the tourists are not aware of the slight irritation that they're causing for the locals. They simply see themselves as helping the local community by being as sustainable as possible by traveling by bike or on foot. They are not aware of the number of tourists visiting Valencia. But the locals have a different point of view. According to the two locals we interviewed, they do not like the way the tourism has developed in Valencia. One local shared that years ago when she was younger, the tourists coming to Valencia were nicer and more social with the locals. Now, every time they see a tourist, they are always with their heads in their phones, so the social interaction is absent. They find this very rude. Everything now is solely on taking pictures and eating food in Valencia. After our visit in Valencia, we traveled further to our new destination, Benidorm. Benidorm started off as a fisherman village where the fishermen became legendary throughout Europe for their skills and catches. Due to a decline of the fishing industry by the 1950s, Benidorm turned to tourism to revive their dying economy, and so the development of Benidorm began. By the 1960s, Benidorm was one of Europe's top beach destinations. The arrival of mass tourism in the 1970s had an impact of the growth of Benidorm. The high demand for hotel rooms led to the development of gigantic hotels in record time to meet demand. Now, Benidorm is a popular tourist destination, well known for its thriving hotel industry, beautiful beaches, and many skyscrapers. Unlike the city of Valencia, the mass tourism in Benidorm has a bigger impact on its locals. The city is best known for its nightlife activities. These activities attract the wrong type of tourists to the city, which leads to a lot of noise and drunk people walking around naked through the streets. The locals are irritated by the behavior, attitude, and actions of these tourists. Thus, they choose to live outside of the city center to avoid all of the commotion caused by the tourists. Also, there are no educational facilities within the center for the locals, which is more reason to live outside the center. According to Visit Benidorm, Benidorm has great environmental conditions. thanks to its national park, surrounding areas, and a 7 kilometer of coastline. The way the city is built makes it more sustainable and reduces the pollution caused by travel by car, because in a city like Benidorm you can go anywhere by foot. Their intention is to accommodate a large number of tourists and residents in the smallest space possible. Visit Benidorm thus promotes this vertical layout due to the fact that the sunlight leads to a minimum use of electricity. The tourism industry is more than pleased with the mass amount of tourists visiting Benidorm yearly. The locals, on the other hand, are not. We interviewed a few locals, and what they most have in common is the fact that they live outside of Benidorm. Our tour guides mentioned that the city center is a tourist city and hardly inhabited by locals. The locals stay outside of Benidorm because of the type of tourists the city attracts, mainly the drunk, loud, naked English tourists. They find it's not a place to raise a family. There aren't any schools, universities, or libraries available, so it's better for them to live outside of Benidorm. During our stay, we noticed that there were many seniors visiting Benidorm. These tourists desire to continue enjoying life and have plenty of free time. They visit Benidorm for the beaches, lovely weather, relaxation, and nightlife. They know beforehand that Benidorm is a busy city and do not mind this. As previously mentioned in the beginning of this documentary, Valencia is a beautiful city filled with history, culture, and art. The last 5 years it experienced a massive growth in tourism, but still has this under control. The locals in Valencia are slowly accepting the fact that Valencia is growing, but cannot help but be slightly irritated by the minor effects of its growth. Benidorm, on the other hand, is a different case. Benidorm lost all of its culture due to its main focus on tourist income. This forced the locals to live outside the city center, which means the majority of the city consists of tourists. When the two cities are compared, the locals would easily choose Valencia over Benidorm due to its fascinating culture and history, whilst tourists choose Benidorm for its beaches, nightlife, and weather.